guys, welcome back to my channel. Today's video is going to be another book video, and I'm so excited for this one because this is going to be my recap of every book I've read so far this year. This might not be a lot compared to some people and like other book YouTubers and stuff, but I did not have a ton of time to read earlier in the year because of finishing up school and college and all that stuff. So I have officially been able to start reading more, and I'm really happy with all of the books that I've gotten recently. I cannot wait to share with you my like TBR. So if you guys want to see a like summer TBR, let me know. I think that'd be a really fun video, or like any kind of reading vlog, let me know. I really want to do a 24-hour read with me, but I feel like I don't know if I would be able to do it. Today I'm going to be talking about all of the books that I've read this year. I also have one or two more than this that I don't have with me, that I've either borrowed or I'm letting someone else borrow right now. Anyways, I'm gonna go ahead and get started in all of the books that I read so far this year. So starting off 2023, the first book that I read this year was Malibu Rising, and this is by Taylor Jenkins Reid. I love Taylor Jenkins Reid. I have read a few books from her. The first book I read by her was Seven Husbands of Allyssa, and then this was the second one that I read of hers. This book is like all worn out. I think my friend took this to Florida with her, and it's kind of, that's okay. It looks just really red, and I love that. This book is about Nina, and she is the daughter of Riva, and he is actually a character in the Seven Husbands of Evelyn Hugo. Which I really like about Taylor Jenkins Reid is that she connects a lot of her stories with her other books and like characters in her other books, and I just think that that's really cool because obviously if you read those you get to make connections between characters. And yeah, so anyways, Nina is the daughter of him. He's a famous music star, I think. Mick becomes very popular and he is not as home as much, and then his wife ends up getting like really depressed. She drinks a lot and she ends up drowning herself, so that leaves Nina, which is the oldest daughter, there to basically take care of her and her siblings because Mick is gone so much. And so Nina is left to take care of her siblings. Nina ends up becoming famous because she does modeling and she gets married to this guy. So then the story starts off by him leaving her, and she's in this big house all alone. Every year she throws a party in this house. There's a bunch of celebrities that come because, like I said, she's famous. They all come to her party, and so this story kind of takes you throughout that. I think this all takes place in one day, I'm pretty sure. It's like the day of the party. So it takes you throughout the party. Some things go down. It's different than any other year. I really enjoyed this story. I ended up giving it 4 out of 5 stars. Actually, I think I started reading this last year, and then I stopped, and then I picked it up again. So it did take me a little bit to get into, but once I got into it, I really enjoyed it. Like I said, it is just all based on one day and one story, so I feel like that makes it a lot easier to read. And it also mentions, so Nina's husband actually leaves her for Carrie Soto, which is a famous tennis player. And if you're familiar with Taylor Jenkins Reid, she just came out with a book that is called Carrie Soto is Back. So again, that's another like connection with characters, and I really want to read that book because I've heard really good things about it. Although it is all about tennis, which I don't know anything about tennis, but apparently you don't need to know anything about it, is what everyone is saying. So, and then I asked for a few books for Christmas, and I ended up getting It Starts With Us by Kalina Hoover. Let me just say, It Ends With Us was the very first book that I ever read. As I'm sure many people, I feel like that's so common for many people. I had COVID last year in 2022, and about a year ago actually, and so I started reading because everyone else was reading, and that's the first book that I picked up. And I read it on my iPad, so I don't have the physical copy with me, but I really did not like the book at all. I thought that it was way too cheesy, way too predictable, and I don't know, I just really wasn't a fan of it. I don't know, it was just way too predictable, I think. Going into this, I was really nervous, but I ended up really liking this book a lot more than the first one, and I gave this one 4.5 out of 5 stars, which is very high. So this book starts off with Ryle and Lily getting a divorce, and Lily basically runs into Atlas again. It pretty much just goes from there. I mean, I'm sure you guys can expect what's going to happen. It is also pretty predictable, but I loved the storyline. I loved the extra character that was put in there that I wasn't expecting. I don't know, it was just really cute, and it just gave me like the closure that I needed from the other book. Yeah, very, very quick read. Colleen Hoover's books are really, really quick and easy. So after that one, I started to read If He Had Been With Me. I don't have the physical copy because I borrowed the book from a friend, but you guys, I had heard things about this book, but I didn't like, obviously I didn't know what happened. This book is a childhood friends to lovers. It goes through high school with Autumn and Finney, who were friends in their childhood, and basically they only see each other now because their moms are best friends. They like go over to each other's houses and eat dinner and whatever, but they're not really close anymore. It takes you throughout the story of their lives in high school and how they change and how they're in different relationships. You kind of see them interact slightly. Yeah, it just kind of takes you throughout their story, and Autumn starts to realize that she is still in love with Finney, and yeah, it goes from there. I don't want to spoil too much. I read this like 4 months ago, so it's kind of hard for me to remember exactly what happened, but I just know that I cried a lot, and it was a very, very, very good book. And I will say it was kind of cheesy. Like, it's a YA book, so you kind of have to expect that, but that one was definitely a 5-star book for me. My first 5-star book out of this whole year. I loved it so, so much, and it just gave me all the feelings. It was just so good. I recommend it so much. I loved it. I've never cried in a book before, and this was the first book that I cried in, so I do recommend it. I read that book in probably February, and I did not pick up another book until May. Actually, that's a lie. I started to read Ugly Love, and then I never got past like 50 pages, I think. So in May, I picked up Better Than the Movies. I had heard Haley Pham talk about this. I think this is like one of her favorite books, and so I decided to read it. And this was kind of like If He Had Been With Me. Very, very similar vibes. Like, not exactly childhood friends, it was more childhood enemies to lovers. We have Liz in the story. She's the main character. She is neighbors with Wes, and they are like the enemies. They really don't like each other. Liz's childhood lover comes back into town from living in Texas for a few years, and his name is Michael, and she obviously wants to try to get with Michael again or be with him, and so she wants to use Wes to try to make Michael jealous. Like I said, they live next to each other, so they kind of fight for this parking spot that is out in front of their house, and Liz basically makes a bargain and says, hey, if you help me get with Michael, then you can have the parking spot for as long as you want. And Wes agrees, and he tries to change her outfits and tries to make her more presentable and more likable, I guess. I don't know. Also, another kind of subplot within the story is that Liz's mother has died, and her and her mother really used to like rom-coms and watching rom-com movies, so that's also a big part of the story because she thinks that Michael is like her rom-com lover, end all be all person. It was a very, very cute story. I really enjoyed it. It wasn't too cheesy for it being a YA book. I thought that it was like not super cheesy and cringy. I do remember really enjoying it while I read it, but I don't remember like a lot about it, I guess. I remember the main points, but not a lot of things. I feel like I need to start annotating every single one of my books because I just forget what happens. I have a really bad memory as it is, so that makes it very difficult. But I ended up rating this a 3.5 out of 5 stars. Like I said, I really enjoyed it while I was reading it, but it's not something that I think about all the time. So okay guys, for my next book, this is a very popular book that I feel like I'm very late on the bandwagon too, but I ended up reading Beach Read. This is by Emily Henry. She's a very, very popular author. This tells a story about January, and she's an author. So I'm pretty sure her father has just passed, and she finds out that her dad actually has like a mistress, and so she ends up moving into his secret home. She goes to kind of clean things out, sell things, and try to sell the house, and she tells herself that she's going to try to finish up a manuscript by the end of the summer. So it's actually really funny because the house that she moves into is actually on Lake Michigan, so I thought that was a cool connection because if you don't know, I live in Michigan. I just thought that that was cool. I don't know. So she moves into this house, and when she gets there, she doesn't meet the neighbor, but she sees the neighbor sitting out on the porch, and I think she says hi, and he just like doesn't really say anything back, or if he does, it's in a rude way. Like I said, I have a very bad memory. So she moves into the house, she starts to discover the town that she's in, and she goes to the library. She kind of tells the librarian like, hey, I'm an author, and basically she gets into this book club and goes to the book club at the librarian's house, and she ends up seeing her neighbor there, who also is a guy that she went to college with, whose name is Gus. She's neighbors with Gus and also knows him from college. Basically, they make this deal together that they are going to try to swap each other's genres of writing. Whoever publishes and sells their book first with the most copies, I think the other has to promote their book or something like that. I don't know exactly what happens, but I really enjoyed this book. I didn't think I would like it as much as I did, because I feel like Emily Henry has so much controversy about like people liking or not liking her books. Like, I have people we meet on vacation and I'm really scared to read it because everyone hates on that book so much, but it's one that I asked for Christmas, and I don't know, I really want to read it because I want to see for myself if I like it or not. Yeah, so I just went into this not knowing if I would like it, and I really enjoyed it. I gave it 4 out of 5 stars. After that, I picked up, I'm sure you can guess, I picked up Happy Place by Emily Henry as well, because it was her newest release. I think it came out a few months ago. I also don't have the physical copy of that because I gave it to my mom to read. Oh my gosh, you guys, I cannot even explain to you how much this book changed my life. I don't even care if that sounds dramatic. I wish I had it here to hold because oh my gosh, you guys, I loved this book so much. This story is about Harriet and Wynne. Recently they got engaged and they have broken off their engagement, but their friends don't know that. So they go on this trip every year with their friends to like a cabin type place on the lake. They go somewhere in Maine for the Lobster Fest, I believe, and they go with all of their friends, all the couples and everything. They haven't told their friends that they broke off their engagement, so they kind of have to act like they're together and that everything is fine. I'm literally getting the chills talking about this book. I have never related so much to a book in my life. Like, I feel like every single thing that Harriet was feeling, I felt like I have felt that emotion so deeply before, and I was just like, how do they know exactly how I feel in this book? Like, I don't even know how to explain it. I just feel like everyone needs to read this book. It just teaches you so much about relationships with a significant other, relationships with your friend, relationships with your like friend groups, relationships with your parents, and I just loved it so much. Like, I do not have enough good things to say about this. It's just so good. Like, I literally felt my heart aching and just like feeling the emotions so hard for this book, and the characters and the way she writes is so well written and just wraps you into every single emotion that she has. I recommend this book so much. 5 out of 5 stars. Obviously I would give it more stars if I could. Like, I loved it so much. One of my favorite books I've ever read. It is my favorite book I've ever read, actually. Next, I had to try to top that book. Next, we picked up Rock, Paper, Scissors by Alice Feeney. And this is another book that I've heard a lot of good things about. This was my first like mystery thriller of this year. And as you can see, mainly I lean towards romance books, but I really wanted to try something different, and I've heard a lot of good things about this one. So this book tells the story of Adam and Amelia, who go on a trip for their anniversary and try to just kind of rekindle their relationship. They've been married for a good amount of time and they try to, you know, figure things out again. They end up going to this very remote chapel Airbnb. So it used to be a church that is now renovated into a Airbnb, and it's also in the middle of a snowstorm, so they're kind of blocked in. They also have their dog with them. Right when they get to the chapel or Airbnb, it's just kind of really sketchy. So within the story, there are chapters that have letters in them, and it's basically a letter that is written to Adam every single anniversary. She doesn't let Adam read the letters at all. It's kind of just like her personal diary, but it's also towards him. And some of them are good, some of them are not good, and you're basically just seeing all of her thoughts and everything. Another big thing that I forgot to mention is that Adam has face blindness. So he has this condition where he cannot make out people's faces. I'm pretty sure he can see everything else except for someone's face. and their features and like who the person is. Some sketchy things start to happen at the place that they're at. There's another person involved who I was questioning why this person was involved at all in the first place. I really enjoyed this book. I gave it 3.5 stars, but thinking back, like, it was a very well written story, and just the twists and turns that it took and the shock at the end that I was not expecting at all. Between 3.5 and 4 stars for me. I really did enjoy the storyline, and it was a quick read. Like, I feel like I flew through this book, so I do recommend this. Very good. The last book that I read in June was Archer's Voice. I wanted to read this because I had heard, what is her name? Allyssa Ray talk about this a lot. She's a book YouTuber, but I think this is like one of her favorite books ever. So I saw it at Barnes & Noble's and I picked it up, and I have so many mixed emotions on this book. So many mixed emotions. Like, it's about a girl who moves into a different town because her father was just murdered, so she wants to get away and try to, you know, find somewhere else to be. She moves into this small town of Pelion. She starts to meet people, and she eventually meets Archer and Travis. So Archer is like one of the main characters, very different and like very quiet, very to himself. Bree just finds that very intriguing. So she tries to get to know him more, and she ends up finding out that he has had an accident when he was very young, to where he's not able to speak. Like, he has a scar on his throat to where he's not able to speak. He can hear everything, he just can't talk. And Bree's dad was actually deaf, so she's able to sign to Archer, and, you know, they're able to communicate in that way. It just tells the story of them. There's just a lot of things that it uncovers throughout the book that I did really enjoy. Like, it was a very interesting book, very different than like a normal romance, I guess, but it was a good book. There was just some things in it that I really did not enjoy. Like, the spice in this book is absolutely insane. Like, this is the first book I've ever read that is very spicy, and that's just like not my cup of tea, not something that I really enjoy. I don't know, it's just not why I read a book. I don't read a book to read about that, and like, I just could easily do without any of that. It also was a little bit cringy at times. Like, there were some lines in here where I was like, okay, like, why did we need to say that? Like, that was just way too cringy. But I feel like you're gonna get that with any romance, so I don't really know. It just kind of depends on what your preference is. It was a really good book. I just feel like the spice was just too much, and it just seemed like that was all that it focused on at some point. I gave this 3 out of 5 stars. Okay guys, the last book that I'm going to talk about in this video is actually one that I just finished like 30 minutes ago, and that is called Hooked, and this is by Emily McIntyre. Well, I ended up picking this up because my boyfriend picked it out. I don't know, we were just at Barnes & Noble's and he was like, hey, you should read this. So I was like, okay. The back sounded good, and I don't know, it's just something I want to try to read, books that like not everyone talks about and that are just like different than every single book you see on the internet. So, but then again, I'm like, maybe this is a popular book and I've just never seen it or really realized it. Apparently this book is inspired by Captain Hook from Peter Pan, which I've actually never seen. One thing about me is that I've not seen almost every single movie that someone will talk about. Like, I feel like every day someone's like, oh, have you seen this movie? And I'm like, no, I haven't. It's like basic movies that I should be seeing. But anyways, so I found that on Goodreads. I was like, oh, apparently it's inspired by Captain Hook. But this is a story about a guy named James, and he is a businessman who's basically in the drug business, very high up, and he likes to kill people in his free time. And I did not realize that this book was about that when I picked it up. But yeah, there's a lot of murder in this book and just like gory scenes. It's not like very detailed, it's nothing horrible, but if you don't like to read about murder, then you probably won't like this book. He basically owns a bar, and there's the main character, Wendy. Her dad is very popular. I believe he is a pilot, I think. His name is Peter. I think he's a pilot, or he owns a plane company. So he's very rich, and she's basically the daughter of a rich man. That's kind of like how she is outlooked, and she ends up walking into James's bar, and he knows right away exactly who she is. He wants to try to be with her to get to her father and try to kill her father. So that's kind of the storyline that this takes. I did really enjoy this book. The spice was also there again, which is really not my cup of tea. It's a really good book. I actually just picked up the second book today. I don't know if these are exactly like in a series together. It says that they're It's called the Never After series. It says there's Hooked, Scarred, and then Wretched. And yeah, this one doesn't have anything to do with this book though. So I think it's just like separate books, but you can read them in the same series, I guess. So I'm probably gonna read this one next, and I'm really excited. I really like the cover. It's super pretty. If I didn't say, I rated this one a 4 out of 5 stars. I do like it. I do recommend it. I thought that the storyline was really good. That twist was really good at the end. And overall, I enjoyed it. So yeah, I read it really fast as well. Alright guys, that is going to be the end of today's video. I hope that you guys enjoyed. I'm so happy that I'm able to start reading again and just like picking up the pace of all of my reads. I have bought so many books in the past month that it's almost like really dangerous that Barnes & Noble's is literally 5 minutes from my apartment. Like, it's really scary. Nonetheless, I love reading. I enjoy reading. I hope you guys are enjoying me sharing my reads with you and my opinions. Please just take all of my ratings with a grain of salt. Obviously, we all have differing opinions on books and different thoughts, and you guys might really like a book that I didn't really like or really hate a book that I really liked. So just take this with a grain of salt. I hope you guys enjoyed this video. If you want to see more book videos, let me know in the comments below. Also, like this video so I know that you enjoyed it. Comment down below any book recommendations, books that you think that I really need to read, your favorite 5-star books. Like, I just want to know all of your favorite things. I will see you guys in my next video. Bye guys!